There is a man who bargained with death itself, not with gold, not with weapons, not with tears, but with the one thing death had never seen before, a mind sharper than its own scythe. This is the story of Kofi the Weaver, and the day he made death wait. In the village of Nkosuo, where the red earth met the blue sky, there lived a weaver named Kofi. Not a king, not a warrior, just a man with 2 hands, a simple loom, and a gift that even the elders stopped and stare. Every morning before the rooster crowed, Kofi was already at his loom. His fingers moved like river water, fast, smooth, never stopping. The cloth he made was not ordinary cloth. When you wore Kofi's fabric, people said you could feel the stories woven into every thread. People came from 3 rivers away just to buy his cloth. The chief wore it at ceremonies. Mothers wrapped their newborns in it. Even the griots, the storytellers, said Kofi's loom sang the old songs that words could no longer carry. But as the seasons passed, Kofi began to change. The praise filled him like a dry gourd fills with water. Soon he believed no one on earth or beyond could match his skill. He stopped bowing to the elders. He stopped leaving offerings at the ancestor tree. He started saying words that wise men never say. One evening, under the great baobab tree, Kofi spoke the words that shook the heavens. He said, "I am the greatest craftsman alive, and if death itself came for me today, I would weave it a trap it could never escape." The village went silent. Even the crickets stopped singing, because some words, once spoken, reach ears you cannot see. 3 days later, before dawn, when the world was still and dark as a closed eye, Kofi heard a knock at his door. Not the knock of a neighbor, not the knock of a child. This knock was slow, deliberate, like it had all the time in the world, because it did. Kofi opened the door, and standing before him was a figure draped in cloth darker than midnight. No face, no breath, no shadow, just a voice that came from everywhere and nowhere at once. It said, "Kofi the Weaver, I heard what you said under the baobab tree. I have come to see if your hands are as clever as your mouth." Death spoke again. "I will give you one chance, Weaver. Weave me something I have never seen before, something that cannot be touched, cannot be sold, cannot be worn, something real that does not exist. Do this by sunrise, and I will leave you. Fail, and you come with me." Kofi looked into the darkness where death's eyes should have been, and for the first time in years, he was afraid. Kofi sat at his loom. Death stood in the corner, watching. The hourglass had begun. Outside, the village slept. The stars moved slowly across the sky. Kofi's mind raced. What could he weave that cannot be touched, that cannot be sold, that does not exist but is real? He closed his eyes, and he thought of his mother. He thought of her hands, how she used to wake before anyone else, how she wove his first cloth, how she hummed songs with no words, how she told him, "Kofi, the greatest things you will ever make you cannot hold in your hands."
He had forgotten those words until now. Kofi opened his eyes. He picked up his thread, and he began to weave. Not cloth, not pattern, not color. He wove in silence for what felt like hours. His hands moved differently now, not with pride, but with something deeper, something that comes only when a man weaves not to impress, but to remember. The sky began to turn, first black, then deep blue, then the faintest line of orange appeared on the horizon. Death stepped forward, its voice like a cold wind through dry grass. Time is ending, weaver. Show me what you have made. Kofi stood slowly. He turned to face death, and he held up the loom. Empty. Death was silent. Kofi spoke, his voice no longer trembling. He said, "I have woven you a song, the song my mother hummed. It has no words. You cannot touch it. You cannot sell it. You cannot wear it. But it is real, because I felt it. Every man, woman, and child in this village have felt it, and now even you have heard it. That is what I have made." The darkness in the room shifted. Death did not move, did not speak. For the first time in all eternity, something gave it pause. Because death had taken kings, had taken warriors, had taken the wise and the foolish, but no one had ever given it something it could not carry away. And then death spoke one last time, quietly, like the last breath of wind before rain. It said, "You have done what no one has ever done before, weaver. You have made me remember something I took long ago, the sound of my own mother's voice." And with that, it was gone. The door did not open, the candle did not blow out. Death simply was no longer there. Kofi walked out of his hut as the sun rose fully over Nkosuo. The village was waking. Roosters called, children laughed, smoke rose from cooking fires, and Kofi, for the first time in years, did something he had forgotten how to do. He walked to the ancestor tree, and he bowed. The elders saw him, and they said nothing. Because a man who returns to humility after standing face to face with his own pride and with death itself needs no lecture. He has already learned the lesson that takes some men a lifetime and others eternity. From that day, Kofi wove differently. His cloth was still the finest in the land, but now, woven into every thread, was something no one could name, but everyone could feel. People said when you wore Kofi's fabric, you did not feel rich, you did not feel important, you felt remembered, like someone who loves you had wrapped their arms around you. And that is worth more than gold. The elders of Nkosuo say this: "Pride is a loom with no thread. It looks strong, it stands tall, but it produces nothing that lasts. Wisdom is knowing what to weave and what to leave in silence." Kofi the weaver did not outsmart death with his hands. He outsmarted it with his heart. And that is the only craft death can never take from you.